Hey there, Dr. Dallas Bragg here, recovery coach for gay and bi men who want to break free from the addictive patterns of chemsex and live their best and highest life. Today, we're talking about an extremely common topic, and that is loneliness. I found that loneliness is one of the top 5 reasons why men continue to return to chemsex, so this is a really important one. If you're struggling with loneliness, you'll want to listen to this full video. On this channel, you're going to find lots of resources to help you break free from Tina and attain your best and highest self. Also, don't forget to look for my podcast. It's called The Aftermath. Here, it's on the channel as well, The Aftermath Podcast, or listen anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. I drop a long-form video like this one every other Saturday, so please turn on the notification bell and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any. By the way, if you're interested in my one-on-one coaching program, it's called Recovery Alchemy. The link to apply is in the show notes. Through weekly one-on-one sessions, weekly group sessions, and daily accountability, your life could look much differently in 6 months than it does right now. So I want you to picture me at 38 years old, right after coming out as a gay man, reading a book with one eye on the grinder grid, stopping in the middle of cleaning my house to take perfectly angled Snapchats, broadcasting my hookups via my personal Zoom room. Before my active meth use, I couldn't stand to be alone for more than an hour. If I couldn't have physical company, I would narrate my every move via social media. Stillness and quiet were uncomfortable for me. My nervous system would become activated. Anxiety. I would desperately seek out distractions and noise. Of course, at that stage of my life, I had zero self-awareness. No idea that this was not a balanced or healthy state of being. It felt happy to me. I didn't realize that I was running from myself, avoiding the various parts of me who had been silenced throughout my life in the closet. They were all screaming for help inside my psyche, and I was doing all I could to ignore them. Enter crystal meth. The world of chemsex offered constant distraction and a conveyor belt of company. There was always somewhere to go or someone to entertain. All of the voices inside me were magically muzzled. Once I walked away from meth, all of my rejected and unattended parts were waiting for me, and they were needing my attention more than ever. Without the meth muzzle, I was back to finding ways to distract from them. Being alone, labeled as lonely, forced me to face them. This is why so many return to chemsex. We think life is going to be so much better in sobriety, but we find out that we often return to where we were pre-use. So I had to learn how to be lonely. I had to learn how to communicate with all of my rejected selves in order to get us all on the same page. This was the hardest part of my recovery journey. And if you get one thing from this video, it's this: having people around you does not solve your loneliness. It's much deeper than that. And if you can resolve your loneliness, you can resolve your chemsex misuse. So let's talk about what loneliness really is and isn't. Loneliness isn't just feeling isolated from others. That's only scratching the surface. In fact, the deeper work of recovery is never taking how you think you feel at face value. Curiosity is key. So when you dig deeper, you find that true loneliness is internal fragmentation. It's the disconnection from our parts of ourselves that we've pushed away, that we've rejected, or we've deemed unacceptable. Every time we're told our emotions were too much, or our desires were wrong, our authentic self was not enough, we created internal splits. We turned against aspects of ourselves to maintain connection with other people, our families, our communities, our lovers. It's the ultimate people-pleasing behavior, sacrificing our needs to satisfy others. So let's think about it. How many times have you felt lonely while literally having sex with somebody? How often have you felt isolated in the middle of a circuit party or a crowd? That's because the loneliness isn't about external connection. It's about the war happening inside you. We become internally divided. The confident part versus the insecure part, the sexual part versus the shameful part, the sober part versus the wild part. These fragments end up in misalignment, leaving us feeling scattered, incomplete, and desperately lonely. So here's a reflective question for you. What parts of yourself have you rejected or hidden in order to be accepted by others? Think about that. If you have to pause, that's fine. Do that. All right, so let's talk about the 3 pillars of our isolation. Number 1, separation. The illusion of me versus everything else. So from birth, we're taught to see ourselves as separate entities, separate from our families, our community, our lovers, and ultimately from different aspects of ourselves. But this is inherently wrong. It's how it isn't inherently wrong. To see yourself separate is how you develop your own identity. But when taken to extremes, it becomes the foundation of isolation. In our community, this separation gets amplified. We separate from our families who might not accept us. We separate from mainstream society when we're not gay enough. We even separate from parts of ourselves that don't fit that perfect gay man image that we think we need to maintain. We begin to feel separate from sub-tribes like bears, twinks, daddies. Constant division in the queer community is a statement of our collective internal, isolated landscape. The chemical connections we seek aren't just about feeling good. They're desperate attempts to bridge the separation, a break from the incessant pressure. But here's the thing, you can't chemically solve an internal fragmentation problem. There's another reflective question. Where in your life do you feel the strongest sense of me against the world? All right, number 2, shame. Shame is the mechanism of self-rejection. Shame isn't just an emotion. It's a biological reaction that causes us to push ourselves away from ourselves. When we experience shame, our consciousness literally splits. We reject parts of ourselves in order to avoid the pain of that rejection, right? Outside of ourselves. For many of us, growing up gay meant learning to be ashamed of fundamental aspects of who we are, our sexuality, our sensitivity, our way of being in the world. We learn to turn against these parts of ourselves. That's shame. This internal betrayal creates loneliness because we're literally abandoning ourselves. Every time you feel ashamed, it's actually information. It's telling you that internal fragmentation is happening or has happened. So instead of running from shame, often we run into substances, we can learn to see it as a compass, pointing toward the parts of ourselves that need integration, that need us. Reflective question. What aspect of yourself do you feel most ashamed of? And how might that shame be protecting you? Even something scarier. Number 3, fear. Fear is the greatest separator. Fear is the opposite of love. When we love something, we take it as part of ourselves. When we fear something, we push it away. The more fear we carry, the more isolated we become. In our recovery journey, we often carry fears about relationships, about being truly seen, about abandonment, rejection, being trapped, losing ourselves completely. Fear, fear, fear. Reject, 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 push away. These fears don't come from nowhere. They come from past experiences that left us traumatized and unresolved, and we're trying not to repeat them. So once you feel abandoned as a child, you tend to take this behavior on throughout your adult life, abandoning yourself repeatedly. The fear of abandonment actually perpetuates abandonment because we are constantly pushing away parts of ourselves and others in case they abandon us. That's a mind fuck right there. Most of us try to push through fear. That's the immediate relief. Push through it instead of getting curious about it. We try to bulldoze past it, which actually creates more separation from ourselves. The path isn't around fear, it's through. It's through understanding what our fear is trying to protect us from. In other words, we must sit in the fear and allow ourselves to feel what we are trying to avoid. In the case of abandonment, what would it feel like to be abandoned? Feel that. Face that fear. What you'll find out is that when you are actually abandoned, it isn't a big deal. It isn't life-threatening. Once you've experienced this, the nervous system will stop bringing up the fear to protect you because there's nothing to protect you from. So here's another reflective question. What are you most afraid of in relationships? And how might that fear be keeping you safe while also keeping you alone? So here's the paradox. Most of us don't actually want connection. We want the feeling of connection without the vulnerability it actually requires. We want to be seen and accepted, but only the good parts of ourselves. We want intimacy, but with masks firmly in place. Everything in our lives seems to be centered around circumventing the work. Real connection requires us to bring all parts of ourselves, into relationship, including the parts we've deemed unacceptable. That is the big work of recovery. It means getting curious about our internal fragments instead of trying to eliminate them. It means loving the parts of ourselves that feel shameful instead of hiding them away. This is why substances feel so appealing. They create the illusion of connection without requiring the vulnerability of true intimacy. Meth is the ultimate shortcut, a shortcut to connection, intimacy, sex, emotional regulation, validation. Chems let us feel connected while still maintaining our internal separation. Reflective question again. What would it look like to show up in relationship as our complete self, including the parts you usually hide? All right, so here's the path forward. This is the internal integration. The solution isn't to eliminate loneliness. It's to transform our relationship with it. Instead of seeing loneliness as evidence that something is wrong with us, we can see it as information about where we've abandoned ourselves. Recovery isn't just about stopping substance misuse. It's about becoming whole. It's about learning to relate to all parts of ourselves with curiosity and compassion. It's about healing the internal splits that drive us toward external solutions. This doesn't mean you don't need community or relationships. You absolutely do, but it means those external connections become expressions of internal wholeness. They're stronger, they're more authentic rather than attempts to fill an internal void. In recovery, we must become intimately connected with ourselves and our true intentions. This means that when you are making connections with others, it is crucial to understand the why behind the behavior. If you are making social connections in order to distract yourself from being alone, to take from others your validation, fulfillment, security, to help avoid feeling your feelings, then you are bypassing the long-term solution. You will end up feeling even more lonely. When you're internally integrated, loneliness transforms from this desperate ache into something more like homesickness, a gentle pull toward deeper and authentic connection with others and with yourself. How might your life change if you could feel completely at home with yourself? Remember, your loneliness is not a character flaw. It's information. It's your inner wisdom telling you where you've abandoned yourself and pointing you toward integration. The journey isn't about perfection, it's about becoming courageously, authentically whole. I love you guys. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, put them right under this video and I will reply as soon as possible. See you next time.